put the pedal to the floor. It's loud and live and local. Oh, time for open mic.
Happy Thursday, everybody. We are live. We are live. We are local every morning from 6 to 9:30 a.m. with so many ways to listen to us. FM 96.9 The Game. AM 740, you can find us. You can find us on HD radio at 101.1-2. If you don't hear us on terrestrial radio, you can download that free iHeartRadio app. Of course, listen to us on your smart speaker as well. If you don't hear us live, you can find us on podcast. Just go to the iHeartRadio app, search for 96.9 The Game, Open Mic on Demand. That's our entire show on podcast. You can also watch us live and in color now on social media, on Twitter, on Twitch, and of course on YouTube. Just go to YouTube, search for the Open Mic live stream, and there we are. You'll see me, Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel. Right over there, you'll see Adam Reardon, the deceptive intellect. And over there is Austin Pastolka, the man we call the Sultan of Sound.
I gotta keep my music kind of quiet, Mike.
Why?
Oh, it's so loud. Oh, St. Patrick's Day. Bench press night. The hangover, brother.
You weren't lifting weights drunk again, were you?
I was. It was.
Oh God.
It was the kind of thing where pretty much everyone at the gym was being smart and lifting sober because they've got competitions coming up. I don't, and so I said, you know what? I'm gonna have some Irish whiskey, some Guinness, and let me tell you, man. It's a good thing I was not the spotter for a lot of people, okay? They did not want to put their lives in my hands last night.
all you youngsters out there, do not do what Austin Pastolka does. Do not lift weights drunk.
You know what the funny part about lifting while drunk is, or while drinking, is that when you do lifts, you're pumping blood to your muscles, which pumps the alcohol to your brain even faster.
My question, he said he was, doing there. You have all his buddies there. Are you friends with the owner of the gym? Do you
Absolutely.
know you are?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because then he can move in with you when somebody drops a bar on somebody's face and he no longer owns that gym because Austin,
We signed a waiver.
We signed the waiver.
He's fine.
You know who
signed the waiver?
You know who loves waivers more than the person who gets underneath the squat rack with
Lawyers.
Yeah, lawyers love the waiver. You know why? Because you wrote that up on a bar napkin, and that lawyer just shreds that thing in front of the jury.
Oh, wow. All right, we want to hear from you throughout the course of the show. We have a lot to talk about: college basketball, NBA, NFL free agency, college football. We have a spectrum of things to talk about. You can give us a call, 407-916-8255. You can tweet us at 96.9 The Game. By the way, you can also vote on all of our polls at 96.9 The Game. I especially like Austin's Would You Rather poll today. I don't know exactly what it means, but it's funny.
What?
Right?
You don't understand the references?
Oh,
Yeah,
he
go.
gets
Well,
the
I understand the reference.
Oh, okay.
I get the references,
All right,
but
good.
I don't know what I would vote. Why don't you go ahead and read that real quick?
Today's Would You Rather poll is: would you rather open up a can of whoop ass on somebody, or do you pity the fool? Which would you rather do?
This is a generational ask if I've ever heard one.
You can go vote on that poll and all of our more relevant polls at 96.9 The Game. You can also text us, by the way, in our Academy Sports and Outdoors text line. That's 50857. We like to begin every show with the Open Mic early morning inspirational quote of the day. This is in honor of the great middleweight champion, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, who passed away earlier this week at the age of 66. The Marvelous One once said, and I quote, "It's tough to get out of bed to do road work at 5 a.m. when you've been sleeping in silk pajamas." End quote.
I love
Adam,
it.
you want to take that?
Yeah, that's like a great little
deeper?
boxing training analogy. Once you've gotten to the mountaintop, once you've become successful, it's hard to put in the get up every day and do the grind.
Premise of Rocky 3.
Yeah, was it Rocky 3?
Yeah, with Clubber Lang.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he kind of got rich and then just kind
Got
of
to get the eye of the tiger back.
yeah, rested on his laurels. And it is hard. I mean, once you've look, if you're broke and you grinded and then you became rich, people don't like eating bologna sandwiches after they've gotten really rich. They've moved on to filet mignon, if you will. So, Marvin Hagler, he didn't struggle getting up to do his road work, though.
Goes back to the famous quote that I once coined. Comfort is the cancer of ambition.
Part's true.
It's all in a state of mind.
Yeah, and it's all in a state of mind. It is. Absolutely. Stay hungry. That's what the marvelous one's saying. Stay hungry.
Mike, I'm always hungry.
Not an issue on this side of the
That's
table.
right.
All right, have you guys filled out your brackets yet?
Absolutely.
You have.
Yeah, it's Thursday. You better get it done now, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we have the what do they call them? The first 4 games tonight. I call them just the play-in games. The play-in games are tonight. Actually, they start this afternoon. I think about 5:00. Texas Southern versus Mount St. Mary's. No interest.
Heated matchup.
Drake versus Wichita State. I do have some interest in that. I want to see Wichita State.
I've never heard Wichita State rap before, but they're going to have to come with it if they're going to knock off Drake. He's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Appalachian State versus Norfolk State, not Norfolk, as I've been known to say, Norfolk State. And then the big matchup, the marquee first 4 matchup, UCLA versus Michigan State. 2 tradition-rich programs in the play-in game, which sort of symbolizes this NCAA tournament, does it not? I mean, we have great programs that aren't even in the tournament, like Duke and Kentucky, and then we have great programs that are in the first 4 matchups tonight, like UCLA and Michigan State. So, but at least we have all 68 teams in the tournament. They've all been cleared to play ahead of the games today. All right, the NCAA announced that yesterday. The tournament will not have to enact any of the contingency plans for replacement teams. Louisville, by the way, was the top replacement team. They would have traveled to Indianapolis had one of these 68 teams selected not been able to compete. So, NCAA tournament starts tonight. Will you guys be watching the play-in games tonight? Because I'm not really a play-in game guy. To me, the tournament is still 64 teams. All right, still 64 teams. The first 4 are again meaningless to me.
Well, I'll say this: that watching 2 teams battle for that 16 seed. That doesn't excite me. Even though we have seen the 16 finally knock off the 1 a few years ago, we've actually finally gotten that, so you can't say that game doesn't matter anymore. But listen, when we're talking college basketball, and you're going to roll out Michigan State, and you're going to roll out UCLA, one program, one of the great programs of at least my lifetime in Michigan State and what Tom Izzo's done there, and then UCLA, probably the greatest basketball program in the history of college. I mean, that's worth a watch. At least, let me say, with 9:57, a little late night action.
I won't be watching that at 9:57 tonight.
They should have rolled that one out at the 8:40 spot.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, the 5:10 spot, 5:10 p.m. would have been much better for me.
Oh, that's not prime time, Mike.
That's 2:00 Western time. For those UCLA fans that may want to watch.
I could have settled for the 7:30 spot.
There's a 6:30.
Yeah, I would have settled for that.
Who's
obviously.
in the 6:30 spot?
That's Drake and Wichita State.
Really?
Yeah, that's okay.
That's fine.
That's the 11, and those are on TBS. The other games are on True TV, which most people are going to text or email True TV and go, "What happened to Impractical Jokers?" That's what I'm here for.
All right, after the play-in games tonight, the first 4, shall we say, we are going to go over our brackets. We'll do that tomorrow. All right. when we're down to 64 teams. Then we can go over our brackets. We're not gonna break them down and tell you every little game that we're picking, but we will go over who we got in the regional finals, what we think the local teams will do. Now, I'm trying to remember. Florida plays tomorrow, right? It's Florida that plays tomorrow, and then Florida State plays on Saturday. So looking forward to those games. Florida, of course, plays Virginia Tech, and Florida State plays UNC Greensboro on Saturday. You know what I love about those games? Because I'm writing about them in the Orlando Sentinel. You know what I love about them? Noon tip-offs.
They're noon tip-offs, which
don't
means
have to
I'm
worry about any
done.
Yeah, don't have to worry about any deadlines. Game will take 2 hours. You're done by happy hour.
Nice.
And boom. Yeah.
Very nice.
Looking forward to that. We want to know. Here's a non-spontaneous text question. All right, we're going to do our spontaneous text question. A non-spontaneous text question. Give me a dark horse. Give me a dark horse to pick in the NCAA tournament. And by dark horse, I mean a
double-digit seed.
No, that's a Cinderella. There's a difference between dark horse. He said double-digit seed.
No, I'm saying let's go a 7 seed and higher who you think could win the tournament. 7 seed or higher who you think might win the tournament or has a chance to win the tournament. Text those into 50857. All right, straight ahead, our real spontaneous text question. It is NFL free agency going on right now, full force. The spontaneous text question has to do with that very topic. That's next on Open Mic.
Open Mic. We'll be back.
I was just reading this marvelous Marvin Hagler quote again, our inspirational quote of the day. It's tough to get out of bed to do road work at 5 a.m. when you've been sleeping in silk pajamas. You could translate that to say, hey, go to bed in your underwear like the Bulldog does, right?
That's not the image I needed on this Thursday morning.
I mean, most guys sleep in their underwear, right?
Well, yeah, but I don't talk about it. I don't go around, hey, Mike, picture me in my underwear.
Even if you're rich, why not just go to bed in your pajama or in your underwear so you don't sleep in silk pajamas so you can wake up and do the road work?
Doing the road work.
That's the point, is once you get rich, you become accustomed to these finer things, and then just wearing your old cotton tidy whities isn't for you anymore.
That's right. That's right. I get the fancy fabric.
Get those expensive, get those jockey underwear instead of the Fruit of the Loom that you get at Walmart.
American Eagle, man. Breathes so much better.
All right, NFL free agency obviously going on in full force. All right, this is going to be the genesis of our spontaneous text question, all right?
Spontaneous text question of the day.
And I don't know if we want to narrow this down or not, but, in honor of NFL free agency, who are the best and worst free agent acquisitions? Should we do it in state of Florida history, or should we just do it in history in general?
Let's do it in history in general. I feel like there's a lot of stories that I don't know about that I think.
All right, we want the best. Here's what we're going to do: the best and worst free agent acquisitions in sports history. Hell, you'd have to go Tom Brady and the Bucks. That's got to be up there now, doesn't it?
I mean, yeah, I would imagine so. Oh, we got one quarterback and we won a Super Bowl. I don't know how many other free agent signings have done that.
We got one quarterback under a 2-year deal, all right, and the greatest quarterback of all time, and he just won a Super Bowl. So, yeah, I'd say Tom Brady's right up at the top of the best free agent acquisitions, at least in modern sports history list.
I would include sort of in that realm, and I don't think it was the very first year, but certainly changed the team for the better, and then they ended up winning a Super Bowl, was when Reggie White ended up going to the Packers.
Yeah.
And, Reggie White obviously spent all that time in Philadelphia and, was the man on one of the great defenses in NFL history. And then when he went to Green Bay, helped that team get over that Super Bowl hump.
You've heard that story of how he got to go to the Packers, right?
Mm-mm.
So I can't remember who the coach was at the time. It was
was it Mike Holmgren?
Yes. Mike Holmgren gave him a call, but it went to voicemail. And obviously Reggie White, very Christian person. Mike Holmgren left a voicemail saying, "Reggie, this is God. Sign with the Green Bay Packers." That was the voicemail.
That's pretty
funny.
good.
Yeah.
Because Reggie White is really religious.
Yeah. Because his nickname was the preacher, right?
Yeah,
he was a preacher at one point. So, yeah.
I hate to bring this one up as worst, but and Austin asked me the other day, why do Magic fans always talk about the Grant Hill acquisition? And I tried to explain to him because it might have been the worst free agent acquisition in history. That's why. I mean, I'm talking about any sports history. And again, Grant Hill, a great guy. Not his fault, but he signed a 7-year deal with the Magic. I guess you could say he was a free agent. It turned into a sign and trade, but that was just to make the salaries match up. Grant Hill was the number one free agent on the market that year. What year was that? 2000, I think it was. Yeah, and then he comes to Orlando, 7 years, $97 million contract, and he never played. He barely ever played. 5 ankle surgeries. He showed up on crutches. He was an albatross. His salary was an albatross on the salary cap for years and years. So that's got to go down as at least one of the worst Grant Hill. And again, no fault of his own.
I feel like there's a lot of them for the Magic that we could do.
Yeah, but that one was, that was crippling. That was a crippling signing. Turned out to be a crippling signing. At the time, it was like, well, we got Grant Hill. And then it was like, oh, no. 5 surgeries.
Oof.
Good grief. The Magic also a party to another one of the worst free agent signings in history. Although they didn't sign him, but they acquired him after he signed the contract with the Washington Wizards, the $111 million contract, the great Gilbert Arenas. Remember when he signed that deal with the Wizards? I think it was the biggest deal in NBA history at the time, and then he blew out his knee ligament the next season. He was never the same.
Oh.
And then the Magic acquired him later in his career, and that was a disaster as well. Was Randy Moss a free agent when the Patriots got him?
No, he was traded because he was traded during the draft. I remember that.
Okay, so he wouldn't qualify
I think.
because that was.
Hold on, let me look it up.
Yeah, look that up because that was an awesome acquisition. I mean, there were some people who thought Randy Moss was over the hill. He'd sort of languished with the Oakland Raiders. Of course, he had the big years with Dante Culpepper with the Vikings. Then he went to the Raiders, and then they shipped him to New England for the 2007 season, and he was unbelievable.
So he was traded from the Raiders to the Patriots in 2007 for a 4th-round pick.
Yeah. That doesn't qualify, though. Doesn't qualify as a free agent. All right, keep those coming in, 50857. I hate to say it because, again, the NBA free agency is great. But NFL free agency, to me, is so much better than NBA free agency just by sheer volume. Just by sheer volume of players that are moving around. And you don't know where these guys are going to end up in the NFL. In the NBA, good grief, you pretty much know the couple, like when LeBron is a free agent or Kawhi Leonard, you know where you know the couple of teams they're going to go to. Like in the NFL, like who thought J.J. Watt was going to wind up with the Arizona Cardinals? Who thought Brady was going to wind up with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? It's so unpredictable and so much fun. I love NFL free agency. NBA free agency, though, when you have big time free agents is pretty exciting too. But the NFL wrote the book on making their sport year-round, and this is just another example of what's going on right now. All right, straight ahead, UCF. There's some rumors and rumblings coming out of there that former UCF coach Josh Heupel lost control of the team last year. Are you buying it? That's next on Open Mic.
This is Markel
During the break, I was trying to think of the greatest free agent acquisitions in like state history. All right, and I was starting with the NFL. I think we've determined that Tom Brady's probably the greatest free agent acquisition in Bucs history. Jags history, I thought Mark Brunell was a free agent, but he got traded early in his career. He got traded from the Packers, where he was a backup to Brett Favre. Then he got traded to the Eagles, and then the Eagles. Actually, he signed with the Eagles as a free agent, and then the Jaguars made a trade for him during their first season. So, what about the Dolphins? I guess you'd have to go back to 72. All of those guys on the 72 Dolphins were free agents that they acquired for nothing, really. Bob Kuechenberg, Garo Yepremian, Manny Fernandez, guys like that. Jim Langer, the center for that team. So somebody just texted in Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth. Was he a free agent? I don't know. They didn't have free agents back then, but he got sold to the Yankees for $25,000 so the owner of the Red Sox, who was having financial troubles, could finance a play, right? No Net. I think that was the name of the play that he was trying to finance on Broadway because he was into the theater. So he he sold Babe Ruth to the Yankees so he could put on No Nanette. Yeah, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. I don't know how good No Nanette was at the time, but I guarantee you she wasn't as good as Babe Ruth.
Well, they don't measure other plays by No Nanette, you know. So
anyway, all right. So there are some rumors and rumblings coming out of UCF about Josh Heupel last year and how he lost control of the team. We sort of got a hints of that when new UCF athletics director Terry Mahajer, remember when he first took the job, he said he was going to meet with the team before he went on his football coaching search to find out, ask the players what they wanted in a new coach, the type of coach they wanted. And evidently the players said they wanted a coach with more accountability. Of course, Mahajer hired Gus Malzahn, and I got to tell you, the players have been raving about Gus Malzahn. I think some of the quotes and comments we've seen from Dillon Gabriel are pretty telling because Gabriel, of course, was lobbying for Jeff Lebby to get the job at UCF. Remember when it was being reported that Malzahn had been hired? Gabriel took down all of his photos of himself wearing UCF gear. He took those off of his social media accounts. So he was kind of being passive aggressive. You're not going to hire my guy. I'm going to take my UCF stuff off of my social media accounts. Now here we are a few weeks later, and Gabriel is absolutely raving about Gus Malzahn. Let's play the comment, Austin, if you have it, the one about how much he respects Gus Malzahn as a role model and all of that.
You know, I got a lot of respect for him just after having continuous conversations with him. He's someone I look up to, and he's a role model, you know, just the way he handles himself, the way he holds himself, and also just the way he speaks to others. You know, he's very loving and caring, and you know, he told me he's going to coach me up the hardest. So I'm ready for it, and I'm excited for it.
Gabriel also was asked what he liked the most about Gus Malzahn's practices. Of course, UCF just started spring practice, and here's what Gabriel said about that.
Just how organized it is, and, you know, truly I'm just focused on, you know, the present. You know, the past has happened, but, you know, we're here. The future of college football is here, and you know, we're really excited to go with it. Coach Gus just basically told us how it's going to go from start to begin, or from beginning to end, and we were able to talk about it. You know exactly what reps we're going to do here, and just walked us through it. So it's super organized, and it showed.
Okay, so that was Dillon Gabriel calling him Coach Gus. He's loving and caring. He's a role model. He's a mentor. All of that. Now, the rumblings coming out of UCF was, again, that Josh Heupel sort of lost control of the team last year. And obviously, I'm not really buying it, all right? And you know, we've got a thought-provoking daily poll about this. How did you word that poll, Austin?
Let me pull it up real quick.
Actually, I've got it right here.
All right.
I've got it right here. Do you believe the rumors and rumblings coming out of UCF that Josh Heupel lost control of the team last year? And I guess the options are yes or no. All right. I don't buy it. Again, last year was so strange. The pandemic year. Obviously, you had the opt-outs. You had. We were in the middle of the social justice movement in this country and in college sports as well. So there were a lot of moving parts last year. And did Josh Heupel do as good a job as he could have done? I don't know. I'm not behind the scenes at UCF. But I would think, did Dan Mullen lose control of the Gators at the end of last year? Again, you could point to a lot of programs last year that had some issues, and a lot of that, I believe, had to do with COVID. There was no spring practice, obviously. The fall practice was very limited. It was hard to sort of indoctrinate players into, especially the new players, into your system last year. So I'm not buying it. I'm not, just because Josh Heupel's gone, I'm not gonna kick dirt on the guy and say, hey, he lost control of the program last year. What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts?
Well, you might. Let me say this. Here's a new poll for you and a new way to sort of reword it to where it makes even more sense. Do you believe in the fallacy of any college football coach having 100% control over his program 100% of the time? It's impossible. I just Googled Gus Malzahn, right? I mean, it ain't going to take you long to find out that Gus Malzahn didn't have 100% control at Auburn during his run there. And you could do that for any college football coach. It is impossible to run a straight and narrow program in college football with that many kids from that many different backgrounds, from that many different environments, with this many distractions and all the other things going on. You could point this same finger at any other coach in college football history, dare I say, and make this same sort of, has this guy got control of the team?
Yeah,
you're only asking this question because they lost 4 games.
No. Here's why I think they're asking the question even more is because how vocal the players were on who they wanted for a coach, and how vocal, because the players were so vocal.
What did they ask for?
They asked for specifically Jeff Lebby. Because the players were so vocal, that's what makes me think that Josh Heupel had no control.
So they asked for the guy who was at Baylor under Art Briles.
Yeah, time out. No, they asked for Jeff Lebby because they were familiar with Jeff Lebby, because that's the only other coach they knew.
Yeah, but when have you heard of college players saying, we want this guy?
It happens. I mean,
Does it?
Well, I think social media now allows these guys an avenue for you to hear them say it. But I can tell you this for sure. In 2000, when Butch Davis took the job with the Cleveland Browns, that though Barry Alvarez was mentioned because Donna Shalala was the president of the university and wanted to bring in somebody she was familiar with from Wisconsin, the player said, no, Larry Coker is getting this job because that's who we're going to play for. And who got the job?
Should have hired Barry Alvarez.
Should have hired Barry. Didn't want to rock that boat. But I to kick dirt. I'm not kicking dirt on Josh Heupel for the same sort of issues that every other coach, including Gus Malzahn, which you can look up. He's had plenty of arrests at Auburn, plenty of different kids he's had to discipline, quote unquote, appropriately. This is just, to me, this is more kicking dirt on the guy who's on his way out.
We got a new guy, and he's so much better than the old guy. You see it all the time in college football. All right, straight ahead. By the way, go vote on our poll at 96.9 The Game. Straight ahead, what do we want to get into next? How about this? You guys aren't going to believe what Orlando Magic CEO Alex Martins told me. And you know what? I'm buying it. That's next on Open Mic.
Open Mic. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
I'm sorry.
of what the Bears have offered, according to a source close to the Bears. This is, from what I'm being told, was the offer that was made to the Seattle Seahawks. 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and 2 starters. But Seattle was interested, but it comes down to Pete Carroll making the decision. Not the GM, John Schneider.
That was the great Dan Patrick on his nationally syndicated sports talk radio show yesterday, talking about how the Bears made this blockbuster offer to the Seattle Seahawks, and the Seahawks said, "Nah, we don't want 3 first-round picks. We don't want 2 starters. We don't want the third-round pick. We're going to keep Russell Wilson." I don't blame him for wanting to keep Russell Wilson. Although that is quite the offer. I don't know. And again, I'm not going to question Dan Patrick's sources. All right, he says a source within the Bears. I'm sure he did have a source within the Bears tell him that. But all right, I'm sure the Bears wanted to leak out, "Hey, we tried to get Russell Wilson, but we had to settle for Andy Dalton." All right, they ended up signing Andy Dalton, and they're getting ripped up in Chicago for it. So, yeah, they're going to leak out, "Hey, we tried our best to get Russell Wilson." And again, I'm not, maybe they did make that offer, but I have a hard time believing that they made an offer like that. And again, Seattle's been supposedly shopping Russell Wilson. If they're shopping him and they turn that down, then they better just go back home and not go shopping anymore, because that's a hell of a deal. Do you believe the Bears offered that, or do you believe they just leaked it out there that they offered that?
Well, it would be hard for me to believe they offered it, because I can't imagine that the Seahawks would have turned it down.
Well, again, Russell, if I'm the Seahawks, I'm not trading Russell Wilson. I mean, hell, look what happens when you don't have a quarterback in the National Football League.
Oh, what was the Seahawks record this year?
I'll look.
They didn't make the playoffs, right? Did they make the playoffs? No.
No. Did they make the playoffs? If they did, it was. I don't think they made. Yeah. So
that's what happens when you have a quarterback, but you don't have other pieces around him anymore. That Legion of Boom defense doesn't exist anymore.
They made the playoffs.
Did they?
They went 12-4.
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
What happened to him in the playoffs?
Playoffs. They lost to the Rams.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was an upset. Yeah. Russell Wilson this past year, he
started off hot. Remember, at one point, he was like the unquestioned MVP guy. He was going to win the MVP.
He was the MVP candidate of the for early in the season. He was sort of the odds-on favorite to win the MVP. And then you're right, they cooled off later in the season. But yeah, I mean, they were 12-4. They won their division this past season. They finished ahead of the Rams. The Bears are a perfect example of what happens if you don't have a quarterback. The Bears have had a hell of a defense, all right, but they can't get the quarterback right. Mitch Trubisky, Nick Foles, now they're going to go with Andy Dalton. This again, I wouldn't trade. I would if I had a franchise quarterback like a Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or certainly Brady or Mahomes. I don't trade them for anything. It could be like Mike Ditka back in the day when he traded the Saints' entire draft for Ricky Williams. You could offer me an entire draft, and I'm not trading my franchise quarterback.
Well, what about like in situations where guys like Russell Wilson and guys like Deshaun Watson have said,
if they won out,
I'm unhappy here.
Well, if they won out, then you would have to consider a haul like that. If they won out, but like
Russell Wilson's not happy in Seattle, and that's where all this discussion comes from. Is he wants out? Deshaun Watson wants out. at that point, the marriage is over.
Russell Wilson's a little bit different than Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson has pretty much made trade demands. Russell Wilson has just said, "I'd like to have some more input." Russell Wilson, I don't think, is dead set on leaving Seattle, whereas Deshaun Watson, hell, now he's really going to want to leave Houston after these civil lawsuits from the two masseuses accusing him of sexual misconduct. So, yeah, Deshaun Watson certainly wants out of Houston. But what's Houston doing? They're saying, no, we're not trading him. They're not, because they know. They know if they trade their franchise quarterback, no matter what they get, that franchise is it's in. I mean, it was terrible this past year anyway. But again, you would have to offer me a whole even more than 3 first-round draft picks if I'm trading Russell Wilson.
Yeah, if you're an NFL franchise, what was it? 3 first-round picks, some other picks, and then some starters.
A third rounder and 2 starters, according to Dan Patrick.
I mean, that's a lot.
It is a lot.
That's a lot. That means for the next 3 years or so, you'd have 2 first-round picks that then you could package, maybe get somebody else. Also, then draft younger players to because that's where success is made in the NFL is through the draft. I mean, look, you got Russell Wilson. That was a great find in Russell Wilson. Was he a 6th-round pick?
I think he was a 3rd round.
3rd round pick. Okay, 3rd round pick. But that's still pretty late for a quarterback. I don't know. Especially when you're in the sort of the divorce stage. I don't know very many people who, wife wants a divorce and they won't grant them the divorce. That 2 years later they look back on it and go, "Hey, everything worked out great. We're still married. Everything's wonderful." No. That's probably like the worst 2 years. If you're battling the divorce at that point, I can't imagine that it gets better from there. And if Russell Wilson's not happy, he's not happy there. Get what you can get. Get what you can get and try to salvage your franchise because of what his salary is going to be. At that, I don't know that team's going to get better in the next 3 years.
Get what you can get, and then what? End up with Andy Dalton as your quarterback? No thanks. No thanks.
No, if you have 2 first-round picks to trade at some point, maybe you can end up trading that for another quarterback down the line. I just think the assets would be good, especially if the player's not happy there. And Russell Wilson's not Deshaun Watson unhappy yet.
He's playing for one of the best franchises in the league, for crying out loud. I don't know why he would be unhappy unless he just wants to, unless it's just too rainy, cold, and depressing in Seattle, and he wants to move to the Sun Belt. I don't know, not the Sun Belt Conference, but the Sun Belt.
Yeah,
all right, let's pause for station. Let's pause for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach, Orlando. Facebook.com/969 The Game.
What you reading there, honey?
It's very exciting stuff, you see. It's the front page of the internet.
Here we go with the front page of the internet this morning. We start off on YouTube's trending page where still getting more and more videos from the Grammys coming out. This time, number 1 video is not the one that everyone is talking about, but it's Doja Cat's Say So performance from the Grammys. 2.9 million views. They really staggered out all of these videos to try and get the absolute most play out of them.
Smart.
It's very smart. But what is challenging for the top spot is from NPR Music, their Tiny Desk Home Concert Series. Last time they had Miley Cyrus. This time they've got Justin Bieber doing a Tiny Desk Home Concert. 15 minutes of Justin Bieber playing some music. It's got close to 1 million views in the first day.
What does that mean, Tiny Desk?
So
what is it?
They used to bring people in, and they had a special Tiny Desk set where people would come and play their music, and it was like they were having an office concert of sorts. So it's just that's the series, that's the title of the series, and that's where it's gone from there. But with COVID, now it's from home, so no more Tiny Desk, but it's still the title of the series. Sorry, I had to turn that down a little bit. Happy birthday today to lead singer of Maroon 5, Adam Levine.
Adam Levine.
I may have picked this one for a reason.
Second best looking Adam I know.
Ah, nice.
Adam Levine, he's got to be... they've been around a while, right? Yeah.
You liked him back in their maroon one.
Nice.
I'm going to go 43.
It's not fair. You set him up. 44.
It's 42.
Oh, damn you. I picked the wrong side.
I was like, oh, it's close to that number. All right, cool. So this is kind of sad but interesting. So we all have heard the story about the shooter in Atlanta that shot up the massage parlors and all that sort of stuff. And people have come out saying we are against be racist against Asians. Like, you know what I mean? Like
hate crimes.
Hate crimes. We're against hate crimes against Asians. And what has happened is Twitter is mad at itself for if people did a thing that they didn't do. Okay? So I know that that's kind of confusing, but...
What? I don't get what you're saying.
Okay, so a tweet went viral where someone said, if you put a yellow square as your profile picture, then you are racist. But nobody ever put a yellow, like similar to when the Black Lives Matter movement was going on, people put the black square for their profile picture. And someone just said, don't put yellow for that, because obviously that's racist. And so then Twitter goes, wait, are people doing this? And they're like, no one's doing this. Just don't do this.
Well, you said Twitter, like not the official
Twitter account.
company?
I mean Twitter as in the group of people on Twitter.
Okay, so some Twitter people.
But yeah, Twitter people then have started to be mad at people that don't exist. Nobody has done this yellow profile picture thing, but everyone's mad at people who have, even though no one's done it.
So it's just feigned anger.
It is just
angry.
It is just anger for the sake of anger.
Yeah, one of the things I dislike about social media.
It's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit from social media over the last day or so.
What about yellow ribbons on trees? Is that still a cool thing to do? I don't know.
I don't know if that. I don't know where that falls.
Tony, Orlando, and Don, they were racist. Tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree. Yeah.
That's right.
There you go. But last thing, on a happier note, we all have. Well, I don't because I'm young. But you guys probably have an old CD rack lying around. From all your.
I have one in my store. I have one in my storage unit. I think.
Mike, I have the solution for you.
I think Mike actually has one here in this box.
Maybe. Is my box still there, by the way?
Yes.
Is it?
I looked in the box. There's some things, Mike, that we'll discuss off the air that you're going to have to get rid of. In 2021? Boy, if the contents of that box ever get out, former Orlando Sentinel.
What's in that box? I don't know.
No, I'm just kidding. It's a Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers hat.
Okay.
You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, is that the old Tom Petty hat from the Southern Accents album?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Can't wear that one to the Publix.
No, not anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, for the CD rack, you can now put ramen in them. A photo has gone viral of someone who has used their old super tall CD rack and just put individual packets of ramen in it for grab-and-go convenience.
What are you talking about? Dude, a CD is like tiny, and ramen packs are he must have modified it.
Well, I mean, maybe he modified it, but at least he's using it for something.
Don't have people out there believing they can fit ramen packages in a CD case.
Yeah, you'd have to crush the ramen in there to fit them into a CD
Don't you crush the ramen when you...
I know people who do that, but no.
Yeah, you're not a crushed ramen guy?
Nope. I break them in half. I don't crush them.
I go full on.
Full noodle?
Yeah.
You go full noodle?
Full noodle.
Yeah. Slurp them up.
Yep. Not that I eat ramen noodles anymore, but...
Well, you got to eat ramen so that way you're not wearing silk pajamas.
Yeah.
Working on the road.
Yeah.
That's the front page of the internet.
All right, so I teased this story. So normally when an NBA team is terrible and fading and they've lost 8 in a row and they have the fourth worst record in the league, there's speculation about firing the coach or the GM and starting all over again. Well, I had a conversation with Magic CEO Alex Martins the other day. You can read the conversation, by the way, at OrlandoSentinel.com. It's up there right now. I got to call him up. Thank you. So Alex Martins told me he believes the Magic are still on the right path. Unfortunately, we all know that path is littered with, torn ACLs and broken bones and strained ligaments and all of that. All right. So the Magic are the most injury-prone team in the league, the most injured team in the league when you look at the number of players who've missed games because of injuries this season. I want to read you the quote from Alex Martins and get you guys' response. All right. It's a fairly lengthy quote. Quote, when you look back at last season, in those first few weeks in the bubble, we were one of the best playing teams in the East. We were on the trajectory where we could have been the Miami Heat of last year and possibly reached the finals in the bubble. Even before that, on the night of March 11th, when the league stopped, we were coming off a great West Coast trip. You take where we were at that point in time last season, and we're saying to ourselves, we have some great young talent when it's healthy. And then he goes on to say, and I quote, we believe that when we get Jonathan Isaac, Markelle Fultz, Cole Anthony, and everybody else healthy, that this is a team with a lot of talent, especially with Vooch playing at the highest level of his career. We believe we have a lot of promise when we get everybody back on the floor next season. All right? That's what he said. All right, I want to concentrate on the part where, and I think I've actually even said this before, and you guys scoffed at me, that if the Magic had been healthy last year in the bubble, they could have made a run. I still believe that. I don't know that they would have been the Miami Heat and gotten to the finals, but I think the Magic's roster, when healthy, is as good as the Heat's roster. I do. And again, you scoff if you will, but I truly believe that. Here's the fallacy, though, in what Alex Martins is saying, in my opinion. All right. Like, we are just to assume that Isaac and Fultz and all these guys are going to come back and, stay healthy next year. They're coming off of ACL injuries. So we don't know that these guys are going to come back and be the same players that they were. They've lost, years of development now. So I think that's the fallacy. We just can't assume that these guys are going to come back and be the same players. All right, your thoughts on what Alex Martin said?
I disagree. I just don't think that this team is, even at its best. And I was trying to do some research, looking up when Jonathan Isaac got injured and what their record was.
He got injured in the bubble. He got injured when the playoffs first started last year, I believe.
Okay,
right?
so with a healthy Jonathan Isaac, right? When this team
this is all health. Yeah, this is all.
They were an 8 seed.
No, Jonathan Isaac didn't play. He didn't play last season. He came back healthy in the bubble.
Okay, so he's saying, so I'd have to go back to 2018 to see what, but that team didn't have Markelle Fultz on it. So basically, this is just there's no proof to what he's saying. I was trying to go back and go, okay, well, what was the Magic when Jonathan Isaac was healthy? Because I don't remember the Magic at any point being a team that was above 500. And I don't care who you are. If your team is not at least an average basketball team, you're not a title contender. And at no point with Vooch healthy, with Isaac healthy, with anybody else that they've signed and delivered and drafted on this basketball team, have they ever been over 500 in my recent recollection. So no, you're not. You weren't. You may get into the playoffs, and I guess if you're in the playoffs, you have a chance. But what the Heat, they were a 5 seed, right? They were a 5 seed when they made that run last year.
I
think they were a 5 seed. I think they were a 5 seed. You're the 8 seed. I mean, you in the last 2 years, you've only won one basketball game in the playoff. To me, that is a great salesman pitch to the fan base. Look at, hey, we're this
Jonathan
close.
Isaac last year played in 34 games last year. He was injured for most of the last half of the season, and then he came back. Remember, he was out for a long, long time. Then he came back in the bubble, and he played for that one game, and then he blew his knee out in the bubble. So again, I would disagree with you. If they would have had, they were playing really well in the bubble last year, even without Jonathan Isaac, and then Jonathan Isaac comes back, and hell, they beat the Bucks in game one, and the Bucks ended up losing to the Heat in the next round. I think it's. And again, I'm not saying the Magic would have made the finals, but I think they could have made a run last year had they been completely healthy. But that's all, that's all what ifs, because the Magic haven't been completely healthy. And next year, who knows how these guys are going to come back off of their injuries. We just don't know. And that's why the Magic are in a state of what to do, because they don't know that these star players, or these potential star players, Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac, are going to be back at full force next year. Straight ahead, it's the sound off coming your way on Open Mic.
Your chance to win $1,400 right now. Text the nationwide keyword bonus to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text
That is the Sound Off music. Sound Off brought to you by Bracket Mayhem. Test your bracket skills. See if you can land yourself a life-changing amount of cash. You can win $1 million if you fill out the perfect bracket at 969thegame.com/contest. Austin?
Sound off.
The biggest thing to me is what our guys have always done a good job of is they've always committed to getting better. And that's how, that's what the good teams do. You got to play better and better as the season goes on. And, their attitudes in these 2 days of practice have been very good. And hopefully, like I said, that'll lead to better play or more sustained play, tomorrow night.
That's Steve Clifford, head coach of the Orlando Magic, obviously saying the things that he needs to say right now, considering the Magic aren't looking too hot, and he's hoping for better things. But he did say that they are continuing to get better. How much better can this Magic team actually get, do you think, Mike?
Well, they're 13-26 right now. They have the fourth worst record in all of the NBA. They've lost 8 in a row. So, yeah, they can get better than that. Certainly they can get better than that because right now they are awful. And again, it all comes down to health. By the way, Alex Martins told me when I talked to him, the CEO of the Magic, he unsolicited, he brought up that Steve Clifford is doing a tremendous job as a coach for what he has to work with. He just doesn't have anything to work with. Now, tonight, Evan Fournier and Aaron Gordon might be back from their recent stints on the injury list. So, they'll be a lot better if they get those guys back. Let's face it, the Magic this season, they played this season most of this season, if you count the games, they played most of this season without 4 of their 5 projected starters. I'm talking about Aaron Gordon hasn't played half the season. Evan Fournier hasn't played half the season. And then, of course, Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac, who are out for the year with the torn ACLs.
Sound off.
Hell yes. Been carrying them, playing the most feared man in the last couple seconds. We say Steph Curry is the best shooter, but Dame Dollar is the most feared man. 5, 7, 3 seconds left in the game.
That's Shaquille O'Neal talking about Damian Lillard and the possibility of him being the MVP. Damian Lillard obviously coming from a much smaller market, which is surprising that he's in the MVP conversation when you think about it, because other than Giannis, MVPs are kind of big market guys. Adam, what do you think about a small market guy getting these MVP ideas? Thoughts?
I'm not against the small market guy here, but here's the problem, and how Giannis gets over that hump is his team is the best team in his conference. I mean,
during the regular season.
During the regular season.
True.
Well, Portland right now, and all that Dame has been able to do, and I agree wholeheartedly with what it was that Shaq was saying. They're the 6th best team. They wouldn't host a playoff series. So he's doing it in moments, but is he doing it enough to elevate his team from that spot up to where the Utah Jazz are right now? You look at the Jazz are the number 1 team in the West. It's not the Lakers. It's not the Clippers. Heck, the Suns are number 2. What about the Devin Booker love? Where's
Brady Ackerman's Phoenix Suns number 2?
Bro, he's like super excited about that. If he can
he texted me the other day, asked if I could get him some tickets when the Suns come to town. I think it's in a few days. Yeah.
Nice.
Sound off.
I have an idea of what the Bears have offered, according to a source close to the Bears. This is, from what I'm being told, was the offer that was made to the Seattle Seahawks. 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and 2 starters. But Seattle was interested, but it comes down to Pete Carroll making the decision. Not the GM, John Schneider.
So that's Dan Patrick on his show talking about what the Bears offered supposedly to the Seahawks for Russell Wilson. That seems like a lot to turn down, Mike. Do you agree with the choice that was made by the Seahawks to turn down this offer?
First of all, I don't believe it. All right, I don't believe it. I believe Dan Patrick may have had a source within the Bears, but I believe the Bears were doing damage control here. The Bears need a quarterback. They've needed a quarterback for years now. Mitch Trubisky didn't work out. Nick Foles didn't work out. Their fan base is screaming to the high heavens up there. So they sign Andy Dalton on a 1-year deal, and they're screaming even more because he's just more of the same. So what do? They leak it out there. Hey, we tried to get Russell Wilson. Man, look at this offer we made. We couldn't do any more to try to get a quarterback. And if that was their offer and the Seahawks turned it down, I think the Seahawks made the right decision because I think Russell Wilson's one of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the league. If you have one of those guys, I'm not going to take a bunch of draft picks just so I could package those and try to get another Russell Wilson. You've already got him, so why would you trade him?
Sound off. That was the goal as I was as an assistant with the Heat. But I was always asked the question from family and friends if I ever wanted to coach college, would I? And my answer was always Michigan. If that job ever came available, that's the only school I would coach. Now, it's a dream job. My dream came true.
That's Juwan Howard talking about his dream job coaching at Michigan. When he was in the NBA, wanted to stay in the NBA, he said, but he has his dream job in Michigan. And this is a cool story with Juwan Howard, isn't it? What do you think? What do you think about the story of Juwan Howard going to Michigan?
You know what, Adam? Adam, isn't it kind of cool that a guy like Juwan Howard can return to his former school and have him, pay immediate dividends and lead them to great things? Wouldn't it be great if like Nebraska was able to hire?
Wow! I had no idea where you were going with that. Yeah. Holy cow!
Scott Frost didn't have a 15-year career in the NFL, though. I'll say this about Juwan Howard and how old I am. I can remember having my Sports Illustrated sent to me with the Fab Five, that recruiting class at Michigan. Chris Webber, Jalen Rose, Ray Jackson, and Jimmy King. And now I look at it. That guy went from college playing in 2 national championship games to then an NBA career, and now back to coaching Michigan. And here I am. And I remember all of it. The Fab Five. I had those Charles Barkley 4s, the CB 4s, the black shoes that they wore with the black ankle socks with the long shorts. And they've done a documentary on those guys who were 30 for 30. I'm excited for him and the fact that he's been able to go back to Michigan and make Michigan a basketball power again. I'm sure that their fans wish that Harbaugh could do that with football, but
you're forgetting the real glory years of Juwan Howard when he signed with the Magic in 2003 and played that 2003-2004 season with the Orlando Magic. Who will ever forget that? Oh, that's right. Everybody has. Yeah.
He did play for the Magic? Because I literally forgot it.
Yeah, he played for... in fact, I remember his introductory news conference. He came in and he was talking about, the great schools in Orlando. Because he had kids. He's excited because they had a great school system in Orlando. I'm like, not really, but hey, if you think so. I don't think your kids are going to be going to public school.
Listen, if you had daughters at the time that played soccer, let me tell you about Lyman and what they had to offer.
That's sound off for today.
All right, straight ahead. LSU fans, I don't know why they're so upset with the Bulldog. We'll talk about that next on Open Mic. Open Mic, the best radio show in town. Isn't that right, Urban Meyer?
Thank you.
Looking for a job in the city. Oh, yeah, this isn't Proud Mary, is it? Even though they steal the whole opening line, the Proud Mary.
Are you going to say that every time I play this song? Or okay. Should I take it out of the rotation?
No, I like it.
Okay.
I mean, I like the Proud Mary knockoff. Yeah.
The Walmart version?
Proud Marty.
All right, so I wrote a column yesterday, and yesterday's Orlando's.
Cheap plug.
About LSU, and on the fallout from the Les Miles situation. By the way, Austin, real quick, can you Google what did Oregon State do with their president yesterday? Their president who was at LSU, I think his name was F. King Alexander. He was at LSU during the Les Miles scandal 8 years ago when Les Miles was,
placed him on probation.
Okay. So he gets placed on probation. He didn't get fired. Les Miles obviously got fired from Kansas, and the AD who hired Les Miles at Kansas, what was his name? Jay Long, is that his name? Something Long. Anyway, he got fired at Kansas as well. So anyway, I wrote this column on LSU yesterday, and the headline was LSU should be suspended from the SEC for moral bankruptcy. All right. So I wrote this column, and obviously they're not going to get suspended from the SEC. But I go, wouldn't it be great if conferences like the SEC, when their programs are so out of line and so morally bankrupt and so ethically destitute as LSU is, wouldn't it be great if all the other conference members, at least temporarily, as Adam Reardon always pushes for, relegation in American professional sports, wouldn't it be great if conferences say, okay, we're going to relegate you at least for the season. You're not going to get any of our conference money, all of this stuff. All right. So I wrote this column about LSU, and then at the end I mentioned, and we're not even, and then I mentioned their basketball program under Will Wade, who again was caught on tape, essentially admitting that he offered money and bribes to get players to sign with LSU, and he's still the basketball coach at LSU. They suspended him for a while, but now he's back and coaching in the NCAA tournament at LSU. So I wrote this column, and of course the LSU fans, good grief, they're just so nasty. So listen to this one. I just got this one. I got one for you, be raunchy. How about your precious Florida Gators and their murdering tight end? Maybe they should be suspended as well. And then he goes, from all LSU fans, go, and then he uses the F word, go F yourself. Do you have to be that mean? Are LSU fans... I hope this doesn't mean LSU fans are okay with what happened under Les Miles and Will Wade. Are they? Do you think LSU fans are okay with it? Or are these just the vile vocal minority that just are going to rip anything written about their school?
Yeah, I mean, it's that faction of the fan base that only cares about their school winning and losing, and if anybody calls them to the carpet, it's okay for them to discuss it amongst themselves, but the minute an outsider comes in, I mean, I'm sure you've got a family member that, amongst your other family members, you can go like, man, Uncle Bill is kind of a weird dude, But if somebody said, hey, man, your Uncle Bill's a weird dude, you go, hey, man, don't be talking about my family like that. So I think that's what happens. As far as the SEC kicking out LSU from playing basketball or football, they would all reconsider the minute the television contract got reduced, because that game Florida plays at Death Valley every other year. That's no longer in the CBS package. Okay, well we got to restructure that deal.
In the catalog. That's not in the catalog.
That ain't in there anymore. That's a pretty marquee matchup, if you know what I mean. Oh, there's no LSU Alabama this year. Oh, the CBS wants a discount on their TV deal.
Did you say that column got on Reddit somehow, Austin?
Yeah, so it got posted to the college football subreddit. It's got 2.6 thousand upvotes, which means people want to show it off, and it's got 850 comments.
Oh, wow. Well,
And
most of them negative, probably.
you are correct.
Yeah.
There a couple of them are just funny, like replace LSU with South Central Louisiana State Mud Dogs, in reference to what's that movie? Waterboy.
Waterboy.
Thank you. But then a lot of people like have receipts for you. That's the funniest thing. They comment, they go, Mike Bianchi once said this, and so I don't believe anything that he said. The funniest one is this Irving Walker thing.
Yeah, I don't even remember what I said there or if I said it.
Apparently, Mike Bianchi once complained that Florida basketball player Irving Walker represented everything right with college sports, while Anthony Davis represented everything wrong. The week Anthony Davis won Final Four Most Outstanding Player, Walker was arrested for stealing tacos.
I remember Irving Walker. I don't remember writing anything about that. I think it was. I think I wrote something maybe about one and dones. Maybe
Probably that, and Irving Walker was like all of 5'8", and I think that maybe that was the angle you were pushing.
Yeah.
And Anthony Davis is 7 foot.
He was a little short point guard.
Kid
right?
from New York City, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember.
It was probably about one and dones, and Irving Walker, fought his way to becoming a starter at Florida and was there for 4 years. I don't know. I don't even remember what I wrote.
Mike Bianchi's column is to Reddit what Rob Parker's article was to this show 2 days ago. Look at this guy with his funky takes and like a clickbait.
By the way, what was the Rob Parker you read me earlier? What was his
The
latest?
Saints will win the Super Bowl, or will win the NFC South if Jameis Winston is the quarterback.
I guess. God, stupid. This is such a stupid take. Why would you even? Well, they didn't win it. Well, they did win it with Drew Brees. As the quarterback, they did win the NFC South.
Yeah,
but they just did beat the Bucs in the playoffs.
That is true.
So
I've got two
because
more
everybody
comments
thinks,
though, if you want. them.
What are they?
So there's, I do not open Bianchi's articles out of principle. He could write a glowing article about me, and I still wouldn't read that hack's writing. That's from Colorado _ Rolock.
How did the word hack become basically it's for journalism? It's like reserved for journalism.
Yeah.
Hack. Either that or
it's like
either
quack
a bad
for doctor.
journalist. Yeah, either a bad journalist or a bad golfer. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hack. Actually, a hacker as a golfer. Yeah. Okay.
Also, how often do you hear this one, Mike? So it says for a split second, it says, man, what's this guy have against Bianchi? They're gorgeous bikes.
Yeah,
you get that one a lot.
Bianchi bicycles, also Bianchi holsters.
I never heard of either one of those.
I never heard of Bianchi bikes.
No.
They're expensive.
They're upscale bike. Yeah,
didn't know that.
Yeah, one of the premier biking brands out there.
Did you ever use that in your single days? I'm an heir to the Bianchi fortune.
Remember Al Bianchi coached the Knicks way back when?
I actually had my PE coach when I moved to Ocala, and I was at Lake Weir High School. His name was Bianchi, Mr. Bianchi.
Yeah.
Really?
Mr. Bianchi.
That's whatever. He drove a diesel Mercedes Benz. Like, it was a really old, probably 1979 Mercedes Benz. It was diesel, and it was the loudest car in the whole parking lot. That's all I remember most about it.
Actually, most of my family pronounces it Bianchi, but I pronounce it Bianchi.
Oh,
yeah.
Stepping away from the family ties.
Yeah,
I
think
see.
Bianchi
Fame's
sounds
gotten
better.
to you.
Yeah.
Actually, the reason I started saying Bianchi instead of Bianchi is because that's how everybody would pronounce it. Like the teachers at school, Mike Bianchi. So I just, instead of correcting them, I just went with it. So anyway, all right, straight ahead. We're going to get into some NFL free agency talk. Also, we have the blast. We're going to tackle all the hot topics we've been talking about all morning long. That's coming your way next on Open Mic.
to put the pedal to the floor. It's loud and live and local. Oh, time for open mic.
Welcome back to Open Mic. I'm Mike Bianchi, the Bulldog sports columnist of the Orlando Sentinel, joined as always by Adam Reardon, the deceptive intellect, and Austin Pastolka, the Sultan of Sound. Together we are Open Mic, the troika of sports talk radio excellence in the megalopolis we call home, right here in Central Florida. All right, I may have to duck out briefly at 8 a.m. this morning. I've got something that has come up, an emergency, if you will. All right. So I may have to duck out at about 8 a.m. this morning. By the way, Adam Reardon, I know you are a stock market aficionado. It looks like it might be a bloodbath on the NASDAQ today. Might be a bloodbath on the NASDAQ.
Time to buy the dips, brother.
Yeah, there'll be some dips today on the old NASDAQ. All right, I want to start with this. All right, not start with it. I want to expand on this topic. All right, so again, I've heard numerous people talk about how UCF last year under Coach Josh Heupel, and obviously it wasn't a great season by UCF standards. They were 6-4 last year. They had a lot of opt-outs. They had the incident later in the season where the 4 defensive starters got kicked off the team when they took that joyride around campus carrying guns, and they had pot and all of that stuff. All right, so there were some issues at UCF last year. The rumors and rumblings are that Josh Heupel lost control of the team. And, we got a hint of that when Terry Mahajer, the new AD, was hired, and he met with the team when he first got the job, and he asked the players before he went on his football coaching search, hey, what kind of coach do you want? What qualities are you looking for in a coach? And I'm paraphrasing, of course. And the players evidently said they wanted a coach who would hold them accountable, a coach with more accountability within the program. So, of course, Mahajer hires Gus Malzahn. The players, at least many of them who originally were lobbying for Lebby to get the job, they're now raving about Gus Malzahn. And again, Dylan Gabriel, to me, the way he has sort of changed his stance on Gus Malzahn has been remarkable. Star quarterback at UCF, he was one of those who was heavily lobbying for Lebby to get the job. I remember when it was reported that Malzahn had been hired. Gabriel is the guy who took all. He was going to be passive aggressive. He was going to take all of the photos of himself wearing UCF gear off of his social media accounts, and he did that temporarily. Now here we are. What are we? 5-6 weeks later, and Gabriel is absolutely raving about Gus Malzahn. Here's one of the things Gabriel said earlier this week about Coach Malzahn.
I got a lot of respect for him just after having continuous conversations with him. He's someone I look up to, and he's a role model, just the way he handles himself, the way he holds himself, and also just the way he speaks to others. He's very loving and caring, and he told me he's going to coach me up the hardest. So I'm ready for it, and I'm excited for it.
Role model, loving and caring, mentor, all of that stuff. He's talking about Gus Malzahn. He also talked about how Gus Malzahn's practices, man, these things are super organized. Listen to him.
Just how organized it is. And, truly, I'm just focused on, the present. The past has happened, but, we're here. The future of college football is here. And we're really excited to go with it. Coach Gus just basically told us how it's going to go from start to begin, or from beginning to end. and we were able to talk about it, know exactly what reps we're going to do here and just walked us through it. So it was super organized, and it showed.
Okay, so that's what Dylan Gabriel said about Gus Malzahn. So, again, there's this narrative out there that Josh Heupel lost control of the team last year, and I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I see it all the time when a new coach comes in, all right? Whether it's a new coach, a new offensive coordinator, a new defensive coordinator, you always – I remember when Urban Meyer took over at the University of Florida, and, he replaced Ron Zook, who wasn't, the most popular of coaches at Florida. He was fired after 2.5 years, but Zook did leave Urban Meyer, the nucleus of talent that Urban Meyer won his first national title with. All right. But, Urban Meyer, when he took over at Florida, was just talking about, we need to have some accountability within this program. Adam mentioned yesterday how Urban Meyer took the players, took their gear away from them and said they had to earn it back. They had to, show that they deserved it and all this stuff. You know what? Ron Zook wasn't the most disciplined of the coaches, but Ron Zook was a decent coach. Josh Heupel, again, last year was hard. It was hard for everybody. Did Josh Heupel have as much accountability within his program as maybe he would have in another year? Probably not. He didn't have a spring practice. Fall practice was limited. Players were away from the program a lot. You had the protocols, all of that. So again, I'm not going to be one of these guys who says, you know what, it's so much better now under Gus Malzahn. Just so much. Maybe it will be. I hope it is. I hope Gus Malzahn, wins more than 6 games this year. I hope Gus Malzahn runs a more disciplined program than Josh Heupel. But I'm not ready to say that Josh Heupel was an undisciplined coach who let the players run amok. Just not going to do it.
Mike, let me ask you this, because, still in Gabriel's voice, he's the starting quarterback, right? He's the face of the team at this point. Mm-hmm. He's got to do a better job of explaining to me what it was that Josh Heupel did to sort of limit his production, because if I remember correctly, weren't they like number 2 in the country in offense? Wasn't he like the second leading?
Hell, they were number 1 for a while. Remember, they were on pace to break the total offense record that Houston set way back when David Klingler was the quarterback.
This just reeks of what you said. Hey, listen, the new guy's here. Let me say all these nice things about the new guy, kind of poo-poo the last guy, because here's the truth of the matter, is that the last guy, Dylan Gabriel, put you in a position where we were kind of talking about you at one point in the season, in regards to Heisman Trophy dark horse. That guy's poor, disorganized practice got you to the point where...
Now, Dylan Gabriel didn't say that.
No, he didn't. He said, what he said was, these practices are so much more organized. Or, it's so organized. Super organized. Intimating that the last guy's practices weren't that organized. He's the wrong guy to be saying all this. Now, if somebody on the defensive side of the football said, hey, listen, this is a whole different thing than what we dealt with last year, then I'll listen. But if somebody on the offensive side of the football is saying this stuff, they're just saying it to say it, because there was nothing wrong with the offense last year. They were the number 2 offense in the country. Well, there's only one other spot to overtake from there. So, again, I just think this does smack of the, hey, I've got, the ex-girlfriend who breaks up with you, or is now in a new relationship, and all she can do is tell all her friends about how bad you were and how this guy is so much better. Let's see at the end of the day if this is better. Let's see if the offense is the number 2 offense in the country. If Dylan Gabriel is a Heisman Trophy contender midway through the season next year, and then let's revisit it. But I think that this is just talk at the moment, and it's a little unfair to Josh Heupel, because when you look around, look at Gus Malzahn's career at Auburn. Did he have complete control over that program and its players from start to finish? The answer to that, like every other coach in college football, is no.
Let's pause for station identification.
WYGM Orlando, WJRR HD2 Cocoa Beach. Listen live on iHeartRadio. Now. No, seriously, do it now. You feel that?
I could feel it.
We're about to blast off.
Just hook it to my veins!
It's time for the blast.
That's right. It is time for the blast here on Open Mic. The blast brought to you by Frank Gay Services. If you need an electrician or a plumber, you need them right now. Go to frankgayservices.com. They will hook you up. We'll start off with that conversation we were just having, the Open Mic thought-provoking daily poll, which is this. Do you buy the rumors and rumblings that former UCF coach Josh Heupel lost control of the team last season? Yes or no?
I say no. There may be rumblings, but I don't believe the rumors. I do believe in the truth that is in college football impossible for any coach to have complete control over 85 scholarship athletes from all different walks of life with all the different distractions. And I think it's a little unfair that when the guy's on the way, is already out the door, to go, oh, look at all these things that happened. This guy had no control, because you could do the same thing for every coach who's ever left any job for any reason.
Sure, it's a bad breakup, but I still believe it. I still believe that...
Well, the answer is then yes, it's true that he didn't have control over everybody, but nobody ever does in college football.
Yeah, but I think there's more to it than that. I think that it's more than just, the regular number of loose cannons. He didn't have control over everybody. I think that he lost a lot of people on his team throughout last year, and then getting a new guy in just kind of exacerbates that problem, or it shines a light up brighter on it.
Let me ask you, if that was true, then how did he get the job at Tennessee? Because his athletic director here, who would have seen him lose control of the program here, is the guy who gave him the job.
But the AD is higher up than... I don't think the AD sees the locker room and sees how practice is going. He sees the results. I don't think that he gauges how Dylan Gabriel is feeling, and I don't believe that. Do you?
I believe that if this was such a terrible situation here at UCF amongst the players and the coaches, that Danny White would have thought a little bit differently about hiring him at a much more high-profile, high-pressure job like Tennessee. So I just think that this is the guy's on the way out. Let's kick dirt on him on the way out. A little more of that than anything else. But I think the answer is yes. I guess it's true. He did not have 100% control of this program, but I don't believe anybody does.
73% of the vote says yes. They buy the rumors and the rumblings. Possibly a little innuendo in there.
Yeah.
Supplemental poll number 1. Do you agree with what Orlando Magic CEO Alex Martins told Mike Bianchi, that if the Magic had stayed healthy, they could have been the Miami Heat of last season's NBA bubble? Yes or no?
No. And do yourself a favor. Don't compare yourself to Miami, because in every metric, you fall short. Okay? In every metric, you just fall short. If you're a Magic fan, the team and the fan base you hate the most is the Miami Heat, because they've drawn the free agents, won the titles, done all the stuff. They are the flashy, got the cooler uniforms. They got the cooler, home court, when they do it all up. So, yeah, no, I don't believe it. And it's his job to sort of sell it like that, though. I get why he said it, but I personally do not agree with that at all.
Yeah, I don't agree with it either. I mean, the players that they have, they're nice young talent, but every single person in that locker room, except for Vooch, is unproven. And so to make that statement, to just say, hey, we've got the young talent that we could have beat the number 1 seed Bucks?
Nope.
No. Be realistic. Come on now.
Nope.
73% of the vote says no.
Of course not.
They don't believe him.
73?
73.
Good for them.
Good for the 27 that live in shame. Live in a fantasy world.
Yeah.
Supplemental poll number 2. What's more fun for sports fans? Is it NFL free agency or NBA free agency?
I don't know that either is more fun. I don't know if I had more fun reading, NFL.
Oh, hey, this guy got $40 million.
That's a great time. I had a great time. Oh my God, that Patrick Peterson. Whew, that was a lot of fun. I will say this: the NFL is our sport in this country that we love more than any other. You got more players on more rosters, and just the news seems bigger. The news always seems, unless it's a LeBron choosing to go to South Beach or something like that. The NFL news carries way more weight, and it's more interesting. The NFL has done a great job, as Mike mentioned, of putting itself front and center almost every single day on our sports calendar. So I'll go with the NFL.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And when it comes to the NFL, everyone is in the hunt So it doesn't matter if you're a small market or a large market team. You have the same chance to get the big names as absolutely anybody. And so that makes it more interesting because now pretty much anyone is a possibility instead of, okay, they're going to either LA or Brooklyn. Like, there isn't that.
No, it's actually the funny thing is it's kind of like the opposite. How many quarterbacks in the NFL are like, I want to go play for the Jets?
Oh my gosh.
Whereas like, you're right, Brooklyn was a destination. Miami's a destination.
Right.
You know, all these big markets are, and it's not necessarily like that in the NFL.
Yeah. How do I get to Green Bay? You know?
It's not a big market.
I know, that was the joke.
Oh, okay.
All right. 81% of the vote is going with NFL free agency on this one. Supplemental poll number 3. Do you believe the Chicago Bears actually offered 3 first-round picks, a third-round pick, and 2 unnamed starters to the Seattle Seahawks for Russell Wilson? Yes or no?
I'm going to say no because I just think that the Seahawks would have taken that. That just seems. I'm reading right now Adam Schefter reporting that they made a very aggressive pursuit of Russell Wilson. 3 first-round picks is a lot to turn down. The Dallas Cowboys dynasty was built on a trade like that. The Herschel Walker deal.
Yeah.
That's the kind of deal that if you believe in your front office and you believe that, hey, they were smart enough to pick up this Russell Wilson guy in the 3rd round, Lord knows what we would do with 6 first-round picks over the next few years, then you make that deal. I think you'd make that deal. So I'm going to say no as far as those numbers. Were there 2 first-round picks and a bunch of second-round picks? I don't know. But 3 first-round picks seems like a lot to turn down.
It does seem like a lot to turn down, but I believe it because Russell Wilson is worth that. And for the Bears to... I mean, the Bears, while their fans are delusional, they do think that they are one good quarterback away. They think that they're Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They think that they're one good quarterback away from being the next Super Bowl champion. And to throw everything at the wall.
Time out. If they believe that, why'd they sign Andy Dalton?
It's a great question. Because who else is left, man?
I don't know.
I don't know. But that's how they think that it is. I also loved all the memes of who's the best quarterback the Bears have ever had, and it was the week that Russell Wilson could have been on the Bears. Loved all those.
Jim McMahon.
56% of the vote says, yeah, they believe that it was a possibility.
Okay.
Supplemental poll number 4. In the open mic NCAA tournament-style Battle of the Beers bracket, who should win the hotly contested Final Four matchup between Bud Light and Stella Artois, baby? Bud Light, Stella Artois, Final Four matchup.
I'm going to go with Stella.
The fancier one?
I don't drink beer, so there's a little sophistication to somebody who pronounces Artois correctly as well.
Oh man, I love Stella Artois. Artois?
Artois. Can I get one of those Artois?
Does that come in the big glass?
And and Stella Artois has their own glass, right? Yeah. So yeah.
When I worked at a bar, they were so annoying because they were the easiest to break.
Yeah, because they're thin, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, they're I'm a silk pajamas guy. A little Stella Artois. Hard to go back to drinking Bud Light after you've sipped the tasty nectars of Stella Artois.
I love me a good Bud Light. Don't get me wrong. That's a solid beer. But I am when it comes to this bracket, I don't want Bud Light to win.
You're going with the Cinderella beer.
I am. I'm going with Stella Artois in this one. 51% of the votes, Stella Artois.
That's hard to believe.
It is hard to believe.
That is hard to believe.
Remember, you can vote on the best beer bracket over at 969thegame.com. If you go to our tweet that has this poll, there's a link right to the best beer bracket. Please go and vote on that. And finally, the open mic Would You Rather poll. Would you rather open up a can of whoop ass on somebody, or would you rather pity the fool?
So that's Stone Cold, right?
Yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Versus Mr. T.
That's right.
So you're too young to really appreciate the greatness of Mr. T way back in the day. I was a huge fan of the A-Team.
Uh-huh.
Do you even know what the A-Team is?
I know of it.
Oh.
Just that it was like a bunch of action movie stars together.
No. This was a TV show.
It was a TV show?
It was a Well, they actually made it into a movie. You're right, but it was a TV show from the '80s in which B.A. Baracus, B.A. stood for bad attitude.
Nice.
Was Mr. T, and he drove this cool van that had this red racing stripe down the side, and these were all military guys who were like dishonorably discharged, and they were wanted for crimes they didn't commit, but so they had to go on the road underground and solve crimes for people. That was the greatest show as a kid. That followed by Airwolf. As a 10-year-old boy, what else could you want? Yeah, I'm going Pity the Fool. They actually made a cereal, Mr. T cereal. That's how popular Mr. T was back when.
Mr. T had his own cartoon called Mr. T's Gymnastic Team.
Yeah, Mr. T was like,
he was huge.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but I'm opening up a can of whoop ass on somebody.
Wrestling.
Let me tell you something, brother. I've got a mud hole and I'm walking it dry. All right.
Oh God. Mike, the younger age, the younger kids don't appreciate the greatness of Mr. T.
Oh,
Mike's back on.
He's back on.
Yeah. I see. This is the beauty of the stream. I get to see Mike is back. As a matter of fact,
Mike, your mic is hot. What's up?
Yeah. First of all, the Stella Artois. You guys nuts? You're voting Stella Artois over Bud Light?
First of all,
kidding me?
I'm calling BS on the fact that 51% of our listenership is preferring Stella Artois. They just wanted to hear us pronounce it. That's all.
That's it.
Yeah, I'm ashamed of our listenership for that. The A-Team was I forgot about the van. The red striped van.
Yeah.
That thing was awesome. And Mr. T, although Pity the Fool, where did Pity the Fool, was that from the A-Team or was that from Rocky?
I think I want to say that was his catchphrase. I want to say I pity. He was on the A-Team before Rocky, I believe.
Oh yeah, he was.
And so I don't know where that came from, but then he used it for everything. I pity the fool who don't love his mama. He actually had a song, like a rap song, something like, "Treat Your Mama Nice" or something like that. You'll have to Google that, Austin. "Treat Your Mama Nice," I believe, is the name of his rap song. Better treat your mama nice or something like that. I think that's what it was.
So it's legendary catchphrase, "I pity the fool," based on characters he's played, like Clubber Lang in Rocky 3 and B.A. Baracus in the A-Team. That's just his catchphrase. It's something that he said throughout all of his movies and in real life, I guess.
It was basically his way of telling you to do something, because he's like, "I'd pity the fool who didn't do his homework."
That's right.
I pity the fool.
My mom used to say that. My mom used to be a bodybuilder, so she'd have her little weight belt on, her little training belt, that leather one, and she'd, "I pity the fool who don't do his homework."
I pity the fool, Mr. Stallion. Come be with a real man. All right, we have to go to break right now. We're going to do a little Brandon Kravitz next on Open Mic.
Hey, this
That is the walk-up music for one Brandon R. Kravitz, host of In the Zone, every weekday afternoon right here on this very station, FM 96.9 The Game, AM 740. And for all of us who have hoity-toity HD radios, HD 101.1-2. Mr. Kravitz, how are you?
I'm good. My middle initial is not R, but we'll just roll with that.
I was gonna ask, is it Brandon Reginald Kravitz? Like,
that's right. That'll be so fancy.
Yeah.
What is your middle initial?
My middle initial is D for Dynamite.
Nice.
Dynamite.
Hell yeah.
My middle name is Drew.
Drew.
Huh. A cool middle name.
It's boring. Yes.
Boring. Brandon's way better.
When I was younger, I had like a 2-week phase where I wanted to go by Drew, and nobody latched onto it, so that was just went by the wayside. I think every kid goes through that. I don't like my name. I want a different name.
So we were talking. You're Mr. Orlando Magic, a member of the Orlando Magic radio broadcast crew. All right, are you still a member of that? Even though there is no real, huh? Yeah,
we are the crew. Jake Chapman and I are the crew. He anchors every single game, and I join him for home games. So I'll be on Friday night.
There you have it. All right. So I was having a conversation with Alex Martins the other day, and I was asking him, "Hey, are you evaluating personnel? Are you evaluating the employees at the Magic, even though this has been an injury-ravaged season?" And he just said, "Listen, we have a good team. We are headed in the right direction." And then he said, we were on a trajectory where we could have been the Miami Heat of last year and possibly have reached the finals in the bubble. All right. Talking about when they were healthy. I don't necessarily disagree with Alex Martins. I'm not predicting they would have made it to the finals, but I'm saying if they had been completely healthy last year, they were playing pretty good in the bubble, and they were playing pretty good even when the season shut down. I think the Magic last year could have been a factor in the playoffs. Thoughts?
So I'll start by saying the thing that's Magic PR friendly, which is I want that to be true.
Yeah.
I don't believe that though. I don't think the team was a step away from being where Miami was. They're a good team. I think the Magic they have the foundation to build upon if healthy. I agree with that. I think they have a lot of things that you can really like in terms of coaching. I love Steve Clifford. I think their defense is really good. They have games where when they shoot lights out, they can beat anybody. All of those things are true. The problem is they don't have consistent three-point shooters, and getting Jonathan Isaac, Markelle Fultz, and Aaron Gordon back are not going to add to those percentages or volume. So it's not like that's the problem. You also don't have the biggest glaring hole on this team is, if you're comparing them to Miami or anybody that makes it to the finals, is you don't have a top 10 player in the league, a guy that can do everything in the final 5 minutes of a game and take over, a guy that is going to score 40 points and also guard the best player defensively. The Magic don't have a guy like that. Even if you're fully healthy, the Magic would be far better than what they are right now, but you're not what the Miami Heat were last year. Even the Miami Heat are struggling to be what the Miami Heat were last year. You don't have Jimmy Butler. You don't have a Tyler Hero. You don't have a Duncan Robinson, these guys that can knock down three-point shots. They don't have a star. They don't have three-point shooting, and you're not going to get it back. So I don't agree with that at all.
Do you think the Magic are on the right path, or are they going to have to do something different? And again, we don't know. We don't even know if Jonathan Isaac and Markelle Fultz, how they're going to come back next year from torn ACLs. So, and obviously they've lost another year of development and all of that. Do you think the Magic are on the right path?
I think they're in a really tough spot because you could go either direction with this. I would do something personally. I'm much more reactionary, but if they're going to take the patient approach, it could work because I do think they have a foundation to be successful. They just need to find, whether it's through free agency, through a small trade where you're not blowing up the team, or through the draft where you find that guy. You find your version of Luka Doncic, Damian Lillard, Jimmy Butler. Find a guy that can be, your go-to scorer that can knock down a shot from anywhere on the floor that gets everybody else involved. You have to find that guy, their version of Giannis. We've talked about John Hammond and how he drafted him. You have to find that guy. And then if you added him to the mix of a healthy Magic team, I think this team could be uber competitive. I really do believe that. The Magic could be the Milwaukee Bucks if they just found the star. But if you don't do that, and you just keep rolling this roster out there and injuries continue to ravage the team where you don't even have a clue of what their upside could be if you found that guy, then John Hammond and Jeff Weltman are going to be working elsewhere within a couple of years. It's just the way it goes in this business. So they have to make a decision. Do we believe that we can find that guy and that the pieces that we're missing now are going to get healthy and stay healthy? If we think we can do that, then you don't make a move. If you're at all questioning that that's possible, then you've got to make a trade. And I think you need to do it before the deadline, because if you roll this team out there next year and Isaac goes down and Fultz goes down and these guys have shown that they're injury prone, so it is possible, I don't think Jeff Weltman and John Hammond can recover from it.
All right. The other major topic we've been talking about today is a lot of UCF fans seem to be piling on Josh Heupel, saying he was lax. The program was out of control last year. He lost control of the players. Do you buy that? Because I don't.
I do. Yeah. Okay. I can't speak to that as if I know for sure, but just what I've been watching from the outside, I would say that that's absolutely true. If you just look, you just sort of read between the lines of some of the things the players are saying now. I heard you play the clip from Dylan Gabriel. I've heard that practices that Gus Malzahn's much more hands-on with this team. I've heard words like accountability and all of those things. And then you look back at last year.
Don't you always hear those things when you get the new coach in?
Okay, but let's put all the facts on the table, and then let's make a decision and go from there. Last year, what were the problems with this team? They were great offensively. They were completely disorganized on defense. They were one of the most heavily penalized teams in college football. That's a sign of bad coaching and bad discipline. Late game execution was a problem. Even though their offense was great, they couldn't figure things out late. Players got in trouble. You've said it, and you've given Josh Heupel a pass for this. I don't. He had all these challenges during the pandemic. Everybody's had challenges during the pandemic. Like Cincinnati didn't have issues. They found their way around it. And UCF couldn't. I'm not going to give them a pass for that. The people that are the most successful in this country right now, the people that are doing the best, are the ones that went through the pandemic, overcame challenges, and were better on the other side. Josh Heupel, we use that as an excuse for him to lose a bunch of games. I look at all of that in front of me and I say, absolutely, this team was, I can't say out of control, is probably a little bit strong, but if that's what we're going with, I would take that side.
I mean, he booted four starters off the team. When they went on their gun-toting joyride, he kicked them off the team. I mean, isn't that holding players accountable? There are some who thought, hey, just suspend them, let him come back later in the season. He kicked them off the team.
Yeah, and that's why.
Four starters.
I understand, and that's why I don't feel comfortable going so hard in the paint with this idea of the whole locker room was out of control and players were running amok. But if I'm talking about the impact that it had on the football field, not these guys as individuals or the way that they were handled with disciplinary actions off the field, I'm just talking about a well-disciplined team on the football field. I didn't see that. And the numbers show that. The UCF was heavily penalized last year. It was a huge issue, and I thought their late game execution was terrible. All of that is a sign of bad coaching. Why do we love Bill Belichick? Because his teams never get penalties at the wrong time, and he's always the best coach in the final few minutes of a game. Josh Heupel was not that last year.
What do we have on In the Zone this afternoon?
So I'm bringing on Mike DeCourcy, college basketball guru from the Sporting News. Love talking to him around tournament time. Last night, big night in the Kravitz household. I filled out my bracket, so I'm going to see if he can tear my Christmas tree to shreds. That's coming up in the 4:00 hour.
Will you be watching the first four matchups tonight?
I'll keep an eye on it. but I just don't get that into the first four. Give me the whole. I want the whole kit and caboodle, Mike.
Brandon Kravitz, catch him on In the Zone every weekday afternoon starting at 3 p.m. right here on this very station. Thank you, Kravitz.
Bye, guys.